Hi, welcome to my channel. Here we discuss interesting topics and just have a good time. If you like this video, don't forget to put a like, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell not to miss new videos. Share your thoughts in the comments. I value your opinion. Thank you for being with us. Avoid forcing life's outcomes. Stoicism teaches that not everything in life needs to be controlled or manipulated to achieve desired results. When people try to force specific outcomes, whether in relationships, careers, or personal goals, they often encounter resistance, frustration, and disappointment. The Stoic perspective emphasizes that life is inherently unpredictable, and attempts to control every aspect of it are futile. Forcing outcomes often creates invisible pressure, both mentally and emotionally. This pressure can manifest as anxiety, stress, and exhaustion because we are expending energy on factors beyond our control. By continually trying to bend life to our will, we become trapped in a cycle of insecurity and dissatisfaction. The more we push, the more things can spiral out of our grasp, complicating situations further. The Stoic approach offers an alternative, relinquishing the need to control everything and instead focusing on what is within our power, our attitudes, decisions, and reactions. Life, in many ways, is like a flowing river. It moves naturally and cannot be forced into a rigid direction. When we allow ourselves to align with this flow and stop fighting against the current, we experience a deeper sense of peace and clarity. This doesn't mean giving up on our goals or ambitions, but recognizing that we must adapt to life's circumstances and let go of the need for rigid control. By adopting this mindset, we reduce the burden of stress and open ourselves to finding contentment in the process rather than obsessing over outcomes that may never be guaranteed. Live fully in the present. In Stoic philosophy, living fully in the present is one of the most critical principles for achieving inner peace and lasting happiness. The Stoics believe that the present moment is the only time over which we have any control. The past is unchangeable, and the future is uncertain, so to spend time dwelling on either is to waste the limited time we actually possess. One of the most famous Stoic thinkers, Marcus Aurelius, captured this idea in his writings. Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. This quote serves as a reminder that time is fleeting, and we must seize every moment as an opportunity to live with virtue, intention, and purpose. Living in the present is not simply about mindfulness, but about deeply engaging with whatever task, experience, or person is in front of you. This might mean fully listening during a conversation, savoring the taste of food without distractions, or immersing yourself in nature without being lost in thought. When we truly experience each moment, we are less likely to become anxious about the future or regretful about the past. This practice helps us focus on the only thing we can actively shape: our present choices. For many people, however, their minds are often preoccupied. We can find ourselves constantly thinking about what needs to be done next, worrying about potential problems, or replaying old events. This mental chatter distracts us from appreciating the richness of the current moment. The Stoics encourage us to break free from this cycle by asking ourselves, what is happening right now, and how can I make the most of this moment? Living fully in the present also leads to reduced stress. When we stop anticipating future challenges or dwelling on past mistakes, our mental load becomes lighter. Anxiety often stems from fearing what might happen or regretting what has already occurred, and neither of these mental states serves us in the here and now. By focusing on the present, we free ourselves from these unhelpful emotions and make room for peace. Furthermore, Living in the present allows us to find joy in the simplest of things, small pleasures like the warmth of the sun, the beauty of a flower, or the sound of birds singing. These experiences may seem trivial, but they hold profound meaning when we are fully attuned to them. As the Stoics suggest, finding fulfillment doesn't always come from grand accomplishments, but from learning to appreciate life as it unfolds moment by moment. To cultivate this mindset, Stoics often recommend practices such as meditation, deep breathing, or reflective questions like, "What am I doing right now, and is my mind focused on the present?" These small actions help train our attention to the present moment and prevent us from getting lost in the distractions of past regrets or future worries. By embracing the present, we not only improve our own well-being but also become more present for others, strengthening our relationships and bringing peace to those around us. This shift in focus allows us to approach each day with gratitude and presence, cultivating a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Accept life's impermanence. Stoicism teaches that one of the fundamental truths of life is impermanence, the idea that everything is in a constant state of change. Nothing lasts forever. Emotions, relationships, material possessions, and even life itself. By embracing this reality, Stoics argue that we can cultivate a deeper sense of peace, appreciation, and resilience in the face of life's inevitable transitions. One famous quote attributed to the pre-Socratic philosopher Heraclitus, who influenced Stoic thinking, captures this notion perfectly. "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he's not the same river, and he's not the same man." This metaphor highlights the ever-changing nature of both the world around us and ourselves. Stoicism encourages us to not only recognize but also accept that impermanence is woven into the fabric of existence. For many, this concept can initially seem unsettling or even distressing. We tend to cling to stability, whether it's in the form of relationships, jobs, or physical well-being. We fear change, especially when it disrupts the life we know or brings about challenges we didn't anticipate. However, according to the Stoics, this clinging only increases suffering. By trying to resist the natural flow of life, we create unnecessary tension and stress. When we accept that everything changes, we free ourselves from the illusion of permanence. This acceptance doesn't mean we become passive or detached. Rather, it allows us to appreciate the fleeting beauty of life and remain emotionally balanced, no matter what happens. By embracing the impermanent nature of life, we learn to cherish what we have in the present moment, knowing that it won't last forever. This perspective cultivates gratitude and mindfulness, as we stop taking things for granted and start valuing them more deeply. Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus remind us that life's impermanence also applies to emotions and circumstances. No matter how difficult or painful a situation may seem, it too will pass. This understanding helps us develop resilience. When faced with hardships, instead of falling into despair, we can remind ourselves that the suffering will not last forever. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, everything that exists is in a manner the seed of that which will be. This means that every experience, no matter how challenging, is part of the ongoing process of life's unfolding. A powerful example of impermanence is seen in the cycles of nature. Seasons change, flowers bloom and wither, and the tides rise and fall. These natural cycles reflect the same impermanence in our own lives. We cannot hold on to spring forever, just as we cannot freeze moments of happiness or prevent the aging process. By observing the natural world, Stoics believed we could better understand and accept the impermanent nature of all things. This acceptance also encourages us to focus on what is within our control, our thoughts, actions, and responses, rather than on external factors that we cannot change. Life's changes may be beyond our control, but how we respond to them is fully within our power. Epictetus famously said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This mindset shift empowers us to face life's uncertainties with calmness and equanimity, even in the face of loss, disappointment, or unforeseen events. Moreover, understanding impermanence encourages us to let go of attachment to outcomes. Stoicism teaches that we should focus on doing our best in any given moment, but we must release the need to control how things turn out. Life's unpredictability means that even with our best efforts, the results may not be what we hoped for. By accepting this, we protect ourselves from unnecessary suffering when things don't go as planned. Additionally, embracing impermanence helps us release grudges, regrets, and the emotional baggage of the past. Just as positive experiences are fleeting, so too are negative ones. By recognizing that time and change can heal wounds, we learn to move forward rather than dwelling on what cannot be undone. This mindset fosters forgiveness and personal growth. In the context of relationships, accepting impermanence allows us to love more deeply and authentically. Stoics understood that all relationships are subject to change, whether due to physical distance, emotional shifts, or even death. Instead of clinging to people or fearing their loss, we can appreciate the time we have with them and make the most of each interaction. As the Stoics often remind us, death is a natural part of life, and accepting this reality helps us live with greater intention and gratitude. In summary, the Stoic acceptance of impermanence teaches us to live with a greater sense of awareness, resilience, and gratitude. By understanding that everything in life is temporary, we learn to let go of unnecessary attachments, focus on the present, and remain steady during life's inevitable changes. Embracing impermanence is not about denying the emotions that come with change, but about recognizing that change itself is the constant rhythm of life, one that can bring peace, growth, and deeper appreciation for the fleeting moments we experience. The power of acceptance. In Stoicism, the concept of acceptance is a cornerstone of living a balanced, resilient life. This kind of acceptance is not about passivity or resignation, but rather about recognizing and embracing the limits of our control. The Stoics understood that while we can influence our actions, decisions, and responses, we ultimately cannot dictate the outcomes of our efforts, nor can we control the world around us. By accepting this fundamental truth, we free ourselves from the emotional turmoil that comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." This encapsulates the heart of Stoic acceptance. The power lies not in changing the world, but in changing ourselves. Life is filled with unpredictable events, many of which we may perceive as unjust, painful, or difficult. Stoicism teaches that trying to resist or fight against these realities only leads to unnecessary suffering. Instead, by accepting what happens without judgment or resistance, we open ourselves to face challenges with clarity and calmness. Acceptance, according to the Stoics, is not equivalent to giving up or resigning oneself to fate. Rather, it's about making peace with what is beyond our control while focusing on the areas where we have power: our thoughts, attitudes, and actions. For example, if a person is confronted with a health issue, Stoicism would not advise simply accepting the illness without seeking treatment. Instead, the Stoic approach would be to accept the reality of the illness while taking responsible action to manage it. The emphasis is on distinguishing between what we can control, such as seeking medical help, and what we cannot, the fact that the illness exists in the first place. By cultivating this form of acceptance, we develop a greater sense of resilience. Life's hardships, whether they come in the form of loss, failure, or disappointment, no longer have the same power to throw us off balance. Instead of resisting or denying these difficulties, Stoicism encourages us to accept them as part of life's natural course. This attitude fosters inner strength and prepares us to navigate adversity with a level head and an open heart. The Stoics also emphasize that acceptance helps to reduce anxiety. Much of the stress and anxiety people experience stems from the desire to control or predict future outcomes. When we accept that many aspects of life are inherently uncertain and beyond our grasp, we begin to release the need to constantly manage or manipulate situations. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, often wrote about the importance of aligning our expectations with reality. In his Meditations, he observed, "The universe's change our life is what our thoughts make it. By accepting change and uncertainty, we can reduce the mental and emotional strain that comes from unrealistic expectations." This principle of acceptance applies not only to external events, but also to our internal emotional states. Stoicism teaches that emotions like anger, fear, and sadness are natural responses to the human condition. However, instead of allowing these emotions to control us, we can practice acceptance and acknowledge them without judgment. In doing so, we allow the emotions to pass through us without being consumed by them. Acceptance, in this sense, is a form of emotional regulation, allowing us to process and move through challenging emotions with grace and composure. One of the key insights the Stoics provide is that acceptance fosters clarity. When we resist reality or deny the truth of a situation, we often cloud our thinking with wishful or distorted perspectives. This can lead to poor decision-making, as we are not fully in touch with what is actually happening. On the other hand, acceptance allows us to see things as they truly are. When we acknowledge a situation without trying to change or deny it, we are better equipped to respond wisely. As the Stoics emphasize, we cannot solve a problem if we are not first willing to see it clearly. In many ways, acceptance is also about humility. It requires acknowledging that we are not omnipotent and that there are limits to our power and influence. This humility is not about feeling powerless, but rather about recognizing where our true power lies in how we respond to the circumstances of life. By accepting that there are forces beyond our control, we free ourselves from the burden of responsibility for everything that happens. This, in turn, helps to cultivate inner peace, as we are no longer fighting against the natural course of events. In relationships, acceptance also plays a critical role. Stoics understood that we cannot control the actions or decisions of others, and attempting to do so often leads to frustration and conflict. By accepting people as they are flaws and all, we can foster healthier, more peaceful interactions. This doesn't mean we condone harmful behavior, but it does mean that we stop trying to impose our will on others. Acceptance in this context leads to greater compassion and understanding, as we recognize that everyone is navigating their own struggles and challenges. Ultimately, the power of acceptance is that it allows us to live more fully in the present. When we accept what is, rather than wishing for what could be, we become more grounded in reality. This enables us to engage with life as it unfolds, rather than becoming lost in regret over the past or anxiety about the future. As Epictetus advised, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Acceptance, then, is a gateway to greater mental and emotional freedom. In summary, Stoic acceptance is about recognizing and embracing the limits of our control. It is not about passivity or resignation, but about meeting life's challenges with a sense of calm and clarity. By accepting both the external world and our internal emotional states, we reduce stress, foster resilience, and cultivate inner peace. Acceptance empowers us to face difficulties without being overwhelmed and to navigate life's uncertainties with grace and wisdom. Letting go of control. At the core of Stoic philosophy is the practice of distinguishing between what we can control and what we cannot. This idea is best captured in the Stoic dichotomy of control, which teaches that human beings have power over some things, namely, their thoughts, actions, and attitudes, but that much of life lies outside their influence. Whether it's the behavior of others, the outcome of events, or even the inevitable passage of time, there are numerous aspects of life that we simply cannot dictate or alter. By learning to let go of the desire to control these external factors, Stoicism asserts that we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering, disappointment, and negative emotions. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus summarized this principle in his famous teaching, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." It sounds simple, but it's a profound insight into the human condition. Many of the struggles and frustrations we face in life stem from our attempts to control things that are, by their very nature, uncontrollable. Whether it's trying to manage other people's opinions of us, hoping to avoid all hardships, or attempting to secure an unchanging state of happiness, these efforts often lead to anxiety, stress, and disillusionment. The more we cling to control, the more we set ourselves up for emotional turmoil. Letting go of control does not mean surrendering our agency or resigning to fate. Instead, it means focusing our energy and attention on the things that truly are within our control: our reactions, choices, and mental attitudes. By doing so, we cultivate a sense of empowerment over our internal world, even when the external world feels chaotic or overwhelming. In many ways, this practice creates emotional resilience and a deeper sense of freedom. Consider the example of interpersonal relationships. We often try to control how others behave, what they think, or how they perceive us. This can manifest in various ways, whether through manipulation, over-explaining ourselves, or attempting to manage others' emotions. Stoicism teaches that while we can communicate and act with integrity, the reactions and opinions of others are ultimately outside our control. When we accept this, we stop investing energy in fruitless efforts to change others, which often leads to frustration or conflict. Instead, we can direct that energy toward cultivating our own character and responding to situations with grace and understanding. The Stoic concept of ataraxia, or inner tranquility, is closely tied to letting go of control. When we cling to control, we subject ourselves to a constant state of tension. We anxiously await the outcomes of events, fearing things won't go as we planned. This fixation on external outcomes disrupts our peace of mind, leading to unnecessary stress and emotional volatility. However, when we let go of our need for control and instead embrace uncertainty, we begin to experience a deep sense of calm. We learn to flow with life's ups and downs rather than fighting against them. In essence, we create space for serenity by releasing our attachment to things we cannot dictate. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, frequently reflected on this idea in his meditations. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This quote captures the Stoic belief that true strength comes from within. By letting go of our futile attempts to control the external world, we redirect our attention to mastering our own minds. In this mastery, we find a deeper and more enduring sense of strength, one that is not dependent on external circumstances. Letting go of control is particularly relevant when dealing with life's uncertainties. The Stoics recognize that the future is inherently unpredictable and that much of what happens in life is governed by chance. This is where the practice of amor fati, or the love of fate, comes into play. Rather than resisting or fearing the unknown, the Stoics encouraged embracing whatever life brings with an open heart. By letting go of the need to control every outcome, we approach life's unpredictability with curiosity and acceptance, rather than fear or frustration. This attitude allows us to remain adaptable and open to new possibilities, even when things don't go as planned. A significant aspect of letting go of control is learning to manage our emotional responses. Emotions like anger, frustration, and anxiety often arise when we feel powerless in the face of events we cannot change. However, Stoicism teaches that while emotions are natural, we have the power to regulate our responses to them. For instance, if we find ourselves feeling angry about a situation we cannot control, such as a traffic jam, or a difficult colleague, we can choose to let go of the desire for the situation to be different. Instead of stewing in frustration, we can practice acceptance, recognizing that our anger does not change the reality of the situation. In this way, letting go of control also means letting go of the emotional. Thank you for watching the video to the end. If you liked the video, put a like, subscribe to our channel, share this video on social networks, and write your opinion in the comments. It will help to promote this video in YouTube so that as many people who need it heard this information.